This is a review on the Kimura II. This knife came out a couple weeks ago. I got mine Monday, and so far I've been really impressed with it. There's a few main differences between the Kimura I and the Kimura II. As you can see right off the bat, Kershaw, who designs this knife for Bradley, they went with a skeletonized hand pattern. And that was to save some weight, but it also gives it a pretty unique look. I actually like the look of the Kimura II better. I think it's a little bit more detailed. It looks pretty unique. I think the Kimura I it looks pretty good, but I think the handle design was a little bit bland. The holes also cut down the weight by about a half an ounce. To be honest, I don't really notice an enormous difference in holding these two and flipping it, but I still like the upgraded design. They also went with barrel spacers in the Kimura in the Kimura II, whereas in the Kimura I, they have just a solid piece of metal cut kind of in the shape of a triangle. And that was also to save some weight, and I think it actually makes the handles a little bit more well balanced. Having this big piece of metal here in the Kimura I makes it a little bit heavy toward the end of the handles, whereas it keeps it a little lighter. The latch, although my latch on my Kimura I did break, they are the same. The Kimura I, my latch actually felt a little bit tighter when I first got it. This one, right out of the box, feels a little bit looser, but it still holds pretty well, so if you did carry it, I feel pretty confident that this wouldn't open on here. I think the biggest improvement that Kershaw made to the updated model of the Kimura is the handle profiles. As you can see, with the Kimura I, it has a rounded off handle profile, whereas with the Kimura II, it's squared off. The biggest issue that I had with the Kimura I, and as did a lot of other people who own the Kimura I, is that when you flip it, particularly with twirls, sometimes due to the handles being rounded off, when you would come up here, like when it was flipping in your hands, it would, if you didn't have enough momentum, it would kind of come up and then twist in your hand like that, which would kind of mess up the flow of your routine. On the contrary, because they have squared this off, I've noticed already that when I flip this, the Kimura II, it tends to stay between your fingers a lot better, because it's a flatter, more square surface, so it doesn't twist nearly as easy as the Kimura I did. You can see right away that the Kimura II has almost double the surface area of the Kimura I, when you look at them really close. This thickness extends all the way down to the bottom with the Kimura II, whereas the Kimura I, it's the same thickness, but it gets narrow all in the middle where it kind of counts all the way to the bottom. The other thing they changed with the Kimura II is they used a different type of washer or spacer in the pivots. I think it's phosphorus bronze, but I'm not positive. Just what it looks like. The camera doesn't really pick up on it here. The Kimura I uses these white nylon washers. The nylon works okay. It's actually pretty smooth. But I think that these new washers allow for just a tighter fit. And when you flip it, you definitely notice it. It definitely feels a lot more precise. It's just a tighter performing balisong, in my opinion. And if you notice, there's not much movement. There's not a whole lot of play at all. The Kimura I, it has a little bit more play. It's not quite as tight. The pivots on the Kimura II use blue Loctite, according to Kershaw. That makes it easier to adjust, and if you ever have to disassemble it, it makes it a lot easier. However, these back of the screws, the cups that hold the screws, they're not press fit. They are like the Kimura I. So if you want to adjust it, you have to squeeze the handles tight or push the blade down against the table and torque them out, which is a little bit of a hassle. So I would hope that in future designs, Bradley, Kershaw, either press fit these or maybe make a slot here so that you can get in there with a screwdriver and hold it down. So if you want to make any adjustments to your pivots, it wouldn't be too difficult, because I've heard of all kinds of stories with the Kimura I where people had to use a soldering iron, held it over a stove to break the red Loctite, or they even tried to slot these themselves with a Dremel with not too much success to adjust these pivots. Personally, I never had to adjust the pivots on the Kimura I. I don't know if the Kimura II will be the same, but it would still just be a nice option to have. Blade profiles are the exact same. That really wasn't updated. And the blade steels and the handle steels are the same. And like the Kimura I, the Kimura II came just ridiculously sharp out of the box. To show you. Came really nicely with a really nice edge. So when you're flipping it, just be very careful. But overall, I think it's a much better flipper. It still comes with a very high build quality, and it really took into account a lot of the feedback that the balisong community had for the Kimura I, and a lot of that feedback was reflected in the Kimura II, which I think is really awesome that they actually built this with the flipper in mind. When I flip it, I feel a lot better flipping this than I do the Kimura I. So I think it's a huge improvement. I like it a lot, and they still managed to keep it in the $90 sub $100 price range. So in my opinion, this is definitely the best balisong you can buy for under $100. Anytime someone asks me what's the best starting balisong, if they don't have a huge budget, I would recommend this. Hands down, it's by far the one I would recommend first and foremost. So I hope you enjoyed the review. If you have questions, please comments. I'll try to get to it. And thanks for watching.